Oh, I wouldn't say freed. More like under new management.
Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now, it's common knowledge that the likes of Hercule here, whose true name cannot be mentioned due to the fact that the algo will not particularly like me for it, is truly the most wholesome and redeeming of characters in the Dragon Ball roster. Not to mention the only major character in said show to have never been offed in the entire show's run. Seriously, he's the only one. No joke. This story is not going to be one of those ones where you see him do good, become Earth's true hero, or even being somebody who is somewhat redeemable. No, that's not interesting at all. Today, we're going to look into the possibility of what might have happened had Hercule taken a more self-centered and all-conquering path toward global glory. Pal, it's so much easier doing that with brand deals and merch. Much like how you can get MasakoX merch at masako.cc/store. See what I did there? But yes, as you may all be too familiar with, folks, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. This may sound like a pretty glaring truism to you out there, and something painfully obvious, but we are proven time and time again that if one is given too much power, and said power is placed in the hands of someone who is unprepared or desperate and wanting to cling onto it, it might become a problem not just for the person wielding said power, but also those who live underneath it. Nothing lasts forever. Memento mori. Clearly, Hercule in this story didn't get that memo. But alas, such is the nature of authority that it rarely works well for a person that truly desires it. But for now, as we do with all of our what-if stories, let's set the scene. The age is 767. The Cell games have been and gone. The likes of Hercule, Jimmy Firecracker, and the rest of the Dragon team have witnessed the most spectacular and terrifying battle in the history of planet Earth. On top of having said goodbye to their friend Goku, who gave up his life in vain, but yet his son carried his wishes through for you ultimately. Gohan had defeated Cell, and all the Dragon team were extremely relieved to have heard and seen that. However, in the eyes of Hercule, this was something not ideal. I mean, sure, that Golden Warrior's kid had defeated Perfect Cell, so he wasn't there anymore, Earth was safe, but the champ had to turn the eyes of the populace toward him. In true blustering fashion, Hercule found the likes of the ZTV commentator and his cameraman and pulled them up from the rubble, helping them. He had taken precautions, of course, to look battle damaged by scuffing up his clothing and adding the occasional rip here or there. You know, it was enough. And waxing lyrical to the reporter, the cameraman was able to get audio going again to the populace, and the martial artist once again regaled the awaiting crowds across the world about his defeating of the evil Cell. In the eyes of Piccolo, Vegeta and Trunks, as well as the rest of the squad, Gohan had been the true hero, but to the people of Earth, who were saved from this menace from them, they were shouting a different name. Or more accurately, a couple of names, though some of them will remain unmentioned due to higher authorities getting in the way. Sorry, Mr. Algo. The name that was chanted by the people was Hercule, as he was the one considered to be the hero of Earth. Now don't get us wrong, it wasn't like this Golden Warrior child wanted to claim the title. You can check out our other what if on that topic if you wanted to see what might have happened there. No. In this world, it was very clear to all concerned that Gohan was simply not ready for this gig at this point. He had just lost his father, and he was about to become a big brother to the likes of Goten not long afterward. He was the man of the house at the moment, and Chi-Chi needed her eldest son to look after the house, as well as the likes of Ox King. Fame and scrutiny of that magnitude were not going to help in the long term, even if that did come with the nice little bonus of huge fortune. Hercule, on the other hand, was more than ready. His body was ready. It's not really been explored too much what he got up to prior to winning the 24th Tenkaichi Budokai a week before the Cell games, but it was certainly a highlight of his career up until then. What we can be certain of, though, is that becoming a martial arts champion had been a long and bumpy ride for him. He was a single parent, providing for his young daughter Videl, dealing with his wife's death even after all this time, taken away from him so cruelly and unfairly. And then, on top of all of that, almost dying to that monstrosity who almost made him look like a fool in front of a worldwide audience. Him being flicked off the ring like that. Thank Kami the camera went dark and that he, a winner, could rewrite history and the future of his and his family's life. In a way, Hercule felt that he actually had more to lose than this golden-haired upstart. Hercule had been hurled into the public eye very recently after years of trying his best to make a name for himself somehow. He had been on TV constantly for weeks now. He couldn't give that up, nor could he be seen as wrong in front of hundreds of millions of people. It was too late. He would never be able to financially recover from this if he told the truth, if he'd been honest, or let the kid get all the plaudits. In the days that followed, Hercule would constantly remind himself that he was doing the right thing. The right person would benefit from this. Nothing would go to waste. And besides, those guys who did all the heavy lifting really, well, they probably dealt with creatures like Cell all the time on a daily basis. This was just another day in the office for them. Nothing special. They wouldn't appreciate the trappings of fame and recognition like he would. Yeah, they were clearly inhuman, so Hercule clearly risked more than they did. They had plenty of things going for them both in power and in chance, and thusly he felt like he genuinely deserved everything that came his way. He was the man of the people. The attention wasn't the best part of the situation, not by a long shot. As I said before, money was very much a factor at play here. The newfound admiration, which in his case was already proving to be pretty big, had given Hercule faith that he could give the Dell the best life possible, and they would never again have to worry about making ends meet or having to worry about where the next paycheck's going to come from. All Hercule had to do now was say he wanted to fight someone, and it happened, usually with tens of thousands of zenny attached to it. And even better, he would get almost as much from appearing in front of a camera, hawking some random product. This was the life for him. So that's why, one day, when he was offered the position of Orange City's honourable mayor, he did not complain. Why would he complain? He was now getting the chance to shape an entire city into his image, perhaps even open up a new Satan Castle dojo and really bring in the big bucks. And after all, he thought to himself, it was the will of the people to adore their saviour, and how could he refuse them that very chance? It would look very bad. He would look very entitled if he refused the gig. What would the citizens think? Oh, he didn't take it because, he was too good for them, that he couldn't be bothered to look after them in this way. No, he couldn't be having that. So he gladly accepted. And what was the first thing he did? Well, it was very obvious to him that calling cities by colours felt like a really tacky thing for his liking. Things needed to be more on brand, as it were. So the city's name was changed to Hercule City within days of his appointment, and people did not protest. Why would they? They now lived in the city of the champ. They were proud of this decision, and this only emboldened the big lug even more. During the first year of his tenure, he was regularly seeing statues being erected in his name, each in ever more garish positions and sizes. Streets changing their names in order to commemorate his victories from both the present and his early past. All the attention was focused on one man, and that man was him. He loved it, and the people loved it too. They were a part of something huge and historical, they thought. Sadly, though, there was one hitch with all of this grandstanding in the eyes of Hercule, and it came from the bigwigs upstairs. The one bitter truth in this cocktail of goodness was King Furry himself. He had not exactly been thrilled with all of this fanaticism toward one man that wasn't him in the royal line. So he kept a close eye on him and vetoed some of his more frivolous choices, such as the choice to rename martial arts to Hercule Arts. After some time since the champ became the mayor of now Hercule City, King Furry himself visited to congratulate the incumbent, as well as perhaps give him some advice on how to properly rule, instead of making this place a playground for his brand and commercializing it. And when I say congratulate, that came along with a fleet of tanks to present maybe a 21-gun salute to his face, if it came to that. Along with members of the royal military, the dog monarch had been reported by the media to have been visiting the city to have a friendly chat with the great hero that saved the whole planet from the nefarious Cell. But this was not what it seemed. Hercule knew what this was right from the moment he got the first request for an audience. You see, Hercule may have dodged a lot of responsibility and things in his lifetime of that ilk, but one important life lesson he did remember, and he was a natural at, was seeing a faker from a mile off. The dojo in which he trained taught him a lot about distraction and fake-outs, and so this act of friendship was clear, and he could feel that the monarch, when he was talking his scripted talk, was skeptical about his victory over the notorious Bugman, a hot-button topic indeed. He could tell that the king never truly believed this story, and in reality, he was correct. We know that. On the surface, though, they were cordial with one another, but he could feel that he wasn't trusted, nor that he was going to get what he wanted at the end of it. Yet, for reasons unbeknownst to Hercule at the time, the king did not confront him. Not once. Not one question as to the details behind Cell's defeat was uttered. Hercule, despite his experience, was thrown for a loop. But still, this little visit felt like a warning. A reminder about who was really in charge of planet Earth. Hercule was, through sheer dumb luck, just the mayor of one little city. He would do well to remember that. When Furry had left, at this point, Hercule did not appreciate such behaviour toward him. This old dog had done nothing to stop Cell. And sure, there was that one little attack against Cell before the games, but what good did that do? His precious military was destroyed by the monster in a second, and he, Hercule, had enough dignity at least within himself to stand against the threat head on, albeit ultimately indirectly. Oh, and let's not forget to mention that embarrassing cargo robot incident back from when those aliens invaded a few years ago. That poor depot droid. But wait, why would the king be so brazen in warning the champ, he thought. Could he actually have proof of the Golden Warrior's victory? Or was it only a ruse, a bluff, a ploy? In the end, it didn't really matter. The champion felt that the king was smart enough not to take down an important symbol, an important figurehead such as he. His opinion polls were nearing an all-time low for the king, and he would do well not to undermine the planet's hero at a crucial time like this. But having said that, that role of being a symbol had its limits. It meant that Hercule was not taken seriously in the world of politics and governance. To them, he would always be a gimmick, nothing more. He was ultimately meant to play by the rules, not cause trouble, and be wheeled out for events and the occasional goodwill gesture. Hercule, in a way, was told to take a walk, and Hercule did not want to be taken for a walk by a dog. So he knew what he had to do. He had to kick things up a gear on his home turf. He made sure that the people of his own city loved him and worshipped him even more. Whatever they wanted, he would give it to them, regardless of the effect it would have on the city's budget. I mean, after all, by taking their attention away from central government, he was also giving them attention. Unwanted attention. Why could their own mayor give them what the king could never do before he arrived? Not only that, but he decided to expand upon the tourism aspect of the city in order to attract more people to either come spend money there, or better yet, maybe move there. Granted, this meant that he spent less time with Videl. This wasn't ideal, but luckily, she had the best tutors and trainers money could buy. One day, she would appreciate this. More prospects came into view. Next year, the Grand King election would occur, and candidates were starting to roll out their campaigns. However, the candidates were very few and had been for decades. Nobody had really dared to challenge King Furry ever since age 733, when he was first sworn in as the next king of a long line of monarch dogs. Sure, there were some opposers, but their campaigns were either not serious or were quickly torn apart by the spin doctors of King Furry. Of course, the king wasn't free from controversy. The whole Beastman craze from ages ago created weird rumours and speculations surrounding the ruler that Furry had originally been a human, that he only used the appearance of a dog to boost his chances of becoming king, making him stand out. But Hercule did not know whether these claims were true, and Hercule planned to be the first non-dog king of Earth in centuries. After all, this old Furry had been ruling for 35 years, it was time for a change, and he was the change. Besides, he was sure that no proof of the Golden Warrior's victory over Cell existed, and that this old dog had been using the oldest trick in the book, bluffing. And so, Hercule decided to call his bluff and take part in the election as a candidate, which notably surprised the king. This campaign also wasn't a token gesture. It had backing. A lot of backing. The campaign took a lot of his time, way more than his standard workday, but he knew that he had to go forward. For Videl, for his own dignity. People needed him. Both candidates were looking strong in terms of popularity. though one was considerably better looking when it came to their physique. Hercule looked the part of being the King of Earth. But finally, the big day came. The royal debate for the title of the king. Furry spent his allotted time talking about tradition, integrity, and variety, hitting well into worries and wants of various social groups. He had been playing this game for a very long time, but people just wanted something new. When it was time for Hercule to speak, he just flexed and looked at his audience before wheeling out this gem of a pep talk.
You know, folks, with all due respect to the king here, I'm pretty sure we've heard that speech 1,000 times before. I'm sure that the king could recite it in his sleep.
A wave of chuckles spread throughout the hall.
Sure, it's nice and nifty, don't get me wrong, but it's been said so many times that it's lost its meaning. In truth, it happened like 3 decades ago. What I want to ask you lot out there is this. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like everything's gonna be alright? That nothing will harm you and those that you love until the day you die? Need I remind you of King Piccolo and his assault on this very palace, who just strode in and took the crown from this pup's puny paws? And what about those Saiyan people? That poor cargo robot? And most notably, Cell. Don't get me wrong, King Furry here is a good man. We all love him in the way that you love your favorite grampy. But the world has changed. Alien creatures from space, freaky mutants, demon kings. I think this may be too much for the poor guy to deal with, but don't worry. I got plenty of experience with that stuff. And if my record shows you anything, you know that I will always have your back.
If King Furry's face could turn red, it certainly would have done right now, having heard that backhanded rhetoric. He growled silently, but his silent protests were drowned out by the thunderous applause. This debate was the nail in the dog's coffin. After it ended, the old monarch approached Hercule, pulling him in close so that no one could hear them.
You are playing a dangerous game, boy. Am I? It sounds like your majesty is threatening me. Be careful what you say next, your highness. You wouldn't want this to find its way into tomorrow's papers, would you? I'm only trying to help you. This position is not as easy as it looks. There's a reason nobody has opposed me until you came along. I know what I'm doing. Good, because I know what I'm doing.
And as such, 2 weeks later, the voting was complete. With a result of 60 to 31 with 9% undecided, Hercule become the new King of Earth. King Hercule. That had a nice ring to it. For his first decree, he decided to host a world tournament, far more decadent and grand than that quaint little Budokai thing. This not only would get people hyped up for their new future as well as having a bit of fun, this would also help him recruit more people into his security forces. Maybe this could actually lure the Golden Warrior out of hiding. Maybe get him out into the open, and he could convince him to work for him, head him off at the pass so that he couldn't undermine him later. Soon he would have more time for Videl, he promised himself, but he couldn't stop right now. He needed to go on and ensure that his rule would be secure and uncontested by anyone. But Videl was still worried. Very worried. She had spent very little time with her dad lately, and this whole obsession about becoming king had changed her father for the worse. The girl sincerely hoped that he wouldn't get into any problems because of this. Will he though? Well, you'll have to wait for the next part to find out. But we do want to thank Kirby163 for this idea and where this could go. We twisted and adjusted this personal story of one man's fall, and we hope you will stay for the next part to find out how it will go. But what did you folks think of this first part? Do you feel that this is what Hercule will do, or would it go in a different direction? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!